What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name's Kyle. Tonight, it is the last day of July 31st here. We're doing a Wednesday night ESPN mock draft, 12 teams, full PPR. We're going to hop into a screen share here. This draft's starting in about 20 seconds, so I'm excited to hang out with you guys for the next half an hour or so. We'll talk as many player takes and things as we can do, and we'll just keep making some good picks here. We do have a few people in the chat room drafting with us tonight, so hope you guys are all doing fantastic. We got Tony in slot number 5. It looks like Harris, pick number 2, and then I saw Aiden sneak in there at pick number 12. Of course, we're drafting from the 8th spot in this video. We're gonna try and get Justin Jefferson today, the thumbnail. And yeah, dude, I got this cool Brewers captain hat from going to a game the other day. So we'll captain this one and see if we can drive this ship home tonight. I'll pull up the pick history here. We can kind of talk through the teams. CMC goes pick number 1. Harris elects to go Jamar Chase over CeeDee Lamb. So I know a lot of people are going to start panicking. The longer CeeDee Lamb holds out and doesn't get his contract and is missing practice, maybe he gets off to a slow start, things like that start to creep into your mind. So we'll continue to monitor CeeDee Lamb. I do think Jamar Chase is my wide receiver too, so I like Jamar Chase a lot this year. And then Bijan, my man, number 4. I'm working on a pretty cool article that I'll probably do a video and kind of talk over, but it's kind of the 2024 drafting guide here to help us get a draft. And I think for me, I want a shot at a top 5 player at each position. So that's what we're going to try and do in this video. So if you guys want to try some mock drafts doing these things, totally do it. I'm getting Tyreek Hill here at pick number 8, which seems pretty stupid. Someone took Saquon Barkley and Jonathan Taylor up at, JT goes 6, Saquon Barkley goes 7. I think those are mistakes. I'm gonna just collect Tyreek Hill here because I think he's a top 3 pick. Top 4 pick, and I'll happily collect Tyreek Hill there. But I love the running backs, CMC, Bijan, and Brees. I don't think there's another first-round running back that I want to take. I think in order to get your top 5 receiver check mark, you got to take Chase, Lamb, Tyreek, Amon-Ra, Justin Jefferson. You got to hit one of those top 5 receivers because we're probably not going to, there's good receivers in round 2, but we're talking a little bit different caliber. I think, the guys that could be top 5 receivers, it kind of ends after Puka. So AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, Puka, throw in Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra. I think those guys are all rock solid, darts at a top 5 receiver. And then, the running, I think I'm taking Jahmyr Gibbs over Barkley and Jonathan Taylor just because we're in a full PPR workload here. And I don't think I can see Jonathan Taylor getting there unless he runs for 12, 13, 14 touchdowns. But with Anthony Richardson there, how many touchdowns does JT get? Saquon Barkley, you also have to worry about his workload as far as touchdowns go. Whereas Gibbs got a lot of touchdowns last year. He's a heavy usage in the passing game. I think Gibbs is the guy that you're kind of looking for in the second round for your running back. So I got my top 5 receiver, Jahmyr Gibbs, Henry, Kieran Williams, and Pacheco go off the board. I would have liked Pacheco there, but I'm on the clock here. I like Travis Etienne a ton. I think he's my potential top 5 running back threat here. I could double down and go with Nakua and grab 2 top 5 receiver options. But in order to make sure, because I'm not sure if I'm going to get James Cook, Devon Achane, those kind of guys. So I'm going to draft Travis Etienne here. I have a shot here at a top 5 running back now. And my article kind of outlines who those top 5 potential running backs could be. I think Gibbs is one. I think JT and Barkley qualify, but I don't want them in the first round. I want them round 2 after I've taken my stud receiver. But otherwise, Derrick Henry, I don't think Derrick Henry is going to be able to finish top 5 in a full PPR league. I think half PPR and standard is where his domain is. But Kieran Williams totally could. Isaiah Pacheco totally could. I think Travis Etienne is one of the candidates. I don't know if Josh Jacobs can. He went round 2, pick 6. But I like that little group there of James Cook and Devon Achane. I think both those guys have the upside to be top 5. And then Rachaad White. I don't think Joe Mixon can do it. Wouldn't be surprised if he does, but I think James Cook, Devon Achane, and Rachaad White are better bets. So So far, so good. We're off to our top 5 QB or top 5 running back and top 5 receiver start. And now we can kind of have fun with round 3, 4, and 5. I think my article, I kind of talked about, I've always made, I don't know, the last like 4 or 5, probably even longer. I always have a pretty good radar for quarterbacks. And I don't like to be the first guy to pull a quarterback, because if you take Josh Allen, if he doesn't, finish as QB1, you're kind of losing value there. You could take Jalen Hurts, but his ceiling's only one up. I kind of like looking at the quarterbacks 7 through 10 and, saying Joe Burrow could easily be a top 5 QB. Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray, Jordan Love. That's such a sweet tier to be finding value at quarterback. And because these guys, they have low ADPs, you can get them much later in drafts. So like if I'm taking Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts here round 3 and 4, I'm missing out on getting even more bullets on potential top 5, top, wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, what have you. You're missing some chances on getting more players that are going to be very crucial to your success. Whereas quarterbacks, I think they kind of get a lot of points, even in that QB 6 to 10 range. So I don't mind waiting for a QB that I think could finish for a top 5, but I want to be aggressive on my receivers and running backs. So we're into the 3rd round now. I'm almost up to pick. After I took ETN, you see Jacobs, Nakua, Marvin, Devontae. I like Devon Achane a lot. Harris grabs Drake London, who could be a top 5 receiver. I think I should probably include him in the receivers there. James Cook, hell of a pick there. Chris Olave, I think Rachaad White's a good, interesting option. Nico, Mike Evans, Pittman, Kelsey, the first tight end off the board. Then you got DK Metcalf there. We're on the board again. I could take my shot on a top 5 tight end and just say I think Sam Laporta is going to continue to destroy. I haven't taken Sam Laporta in any of my mock drafts, so I'm kind of interested. I could grab, Ayuk, Devonta Smith, some of these other fun players here, but I'm just going to grab Sam Laporta. I haven't mocked him yet to get him tight end 2 off the board. I think that's fine. He did finish as tight end 1 last year, but it was a season where we didn't really have elite tight ends, producing at their normal tight end 1 clip. I think Kelsey missed some points. I think Mark Andrews missed a bunch of games. So I don't think Laporta. And it's tough. Like I mentioned, not wanting to get like the 1st or 2nd quarterback off the board because there's not much ceiling for them. I grabbed Laporta as the tight end 2. I recognize there's not a lot of ceiling, but I think his floor is pretty sweet. And I didn't get Gibbs. I didn't get Amon-Ra. Laporta is very clearly the next line that you want on your team here. And I think, everything looked really good for him last year. I think he's a guy that can grow. He looked really good down the stretch, had a couple bangers at 28, at 29, some high teens in here. Sam Laporta, man. So we have our top 5 option at running back, receiver, and tight end. We're going to play it kind of cool on quarterback. Let's continue to fill out our roster and get some very important pieces to finish our running backs and receivers. We'll look at the pick history here and see who's rolling through. After I take Laporta, you got Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara, Stephon Diggs, and Jalen Waddle. I'm fine with I'm beginning to get interested in Alvin Kamara. I think he's a really nice RB2 option for you this year. And I don't think he's a top 5 option at running back. I think we're kind of done with those top 5 potential running backs. There still might be some receivers, though. Like if Jalen Waddle takes over, and has a beast year, maybe Brandon Ayuk, but I don't know if there's enough volume. I don't know if Devonta Smith. Debo could get there, though. I was hoping that Debo would fall to me. He just does not. So I'm on the board here. DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp interest me a little bit. I'm kind of interested in Malik Neighbors as the de facto wide receiver 1 for the New York Giants. So I'm gonna take Neighbors over DJ Moore and Cooper Kupp, which is something that I don't normally do. But DJ Moore, we don't know if he's the wide receiver 1 on his team with Keenan Allen and the added competition at Odunze. You also have to tie in a rookie quarterback there. And then for Cooper Kupp, man, I think it's very clear that Puka is the guy now. He's up there in age. We just don't know if he has that top 5, top 10 ability anymore. I grabbed Malik Neighbors, and I know his quarterback situation is not good. I do think Daniel Jones can hit the open man, the quick target. If Neighbors were like a big, outside receiver kind of thing, I think I'd be out. But because Neighbors gets open quick, he can do everything. They get him the ball in space. They can do a lot of fun things. And you also might get Drew Lock playing quarterback. I think you're going to see Drew Lock at some point in 2024. So I'll take a shot on Malik Neighbors. He's my wide receiver 2. I would have preferred him as my wide receiver 3, but just to change things up and do some different mock drafts for you guys, we're going to take Malik Neighbors there. Moving into the end of the fourth round, you got Zay Flowers. No quarterbacks off the board yet. DJ Moore, Mark Andrews, Cooper Kupp, Ramondre, and then Harris grabs a falling Josh Allen. So in my article, I did note that when these top 5 QBs fall, I'm willing to take them. Josh Allen should have went probably in the beginning of the fourth round, but Harris couldn't pass it up there. He grabs Josh Allen at pick 47. You got Mahomes going at pick 48. So we're seeing the quarterbacks come off the board. I have T. Higgins, McBride, George Pickens. I might be interested in pulling a quarterback here if it's right. I think you're looking at guys like Jalen Hurts, Anthony Richardson, C.J. Stroud. There's some really good ones left. Aaron Jones off the board. I'm not quite sure how I feel on Aaron Jones yet. I think he's going to be good when he's healthy. It's just, is he going to be there at the end of the season? Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson off the board. So I could take Anthony Richardson here and just say, yep, he's going to be healthy all year, and I'm going to feel really good about that position. I could take, Tank Dell, Calvin Ridley. I don't love the running backs right here. We can maybe wait for our RB2. I guess I have one more pick to pick here. But I'm not sure I'm in love with anything specific at this range. So I kind of want to take Anthony Richardson here, guys. And I get it. Anthony Richardson, still an unknown as a passer, but I know he can run the ball, man. He ran for a touchdown in the first 3 weeks, first 3 games of his career last year. He gets hurt against Tennessee, but 20, 17, and 29.6. It's a very small sample. But if he improves a little bit as a passer, he threw for 3 touchdowns in about 3 games. He also ran for 4 touchdowns. If he puts up a Jalen Hurts type season where he's going to run for 14, 15 touchdowns and throw for maybe 20 touchdowns, that is a huge, huge hit. And you want those running quarterbacks. I think all the quarterbacks that are being drafted early can run, with the exception C.J. Stroud doesn't really run, but I think the top 5 guys all run. And for me to get Anthony Richardson here, I'm happy with it. But we're moving into the 6th round now. I have my top 5 options covered. So my draft plan is the table is set. We have a really good foundation. We can now fill it in with running backs and receivers. But I'm on the clock now. Jay Brooks, Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, Chris Godwin. I love Kyle Pitts. I think Kyle Pitts is one of the best picks you can make in fantasy football at the tight end spot. So if you miss out on a top 5 tight end, I'm 100% in on Kyle Pitts. But before this gets out of hand here, I haven't been able to mock Jaylen Warren. I'm going to grab Jaylen Warren. He was RB22 last year, so he was an RB2. But I think this year with the transition to Arthur Smith's offense, Bijan Robinson had almost 90 targets last year. I think there's an outside chance that Jaylen Warren gets up to in the 70s and the 80s of targets. I think he's going to be a PPR beast, probably averaging 12, 13 points per game. So I'm happy to collect Jaylen Warren. He's elite at every advanced metric, pretty much. Missed tackles forced, just a really efficient running back. And I think we're going to see him finally put a dent into Najee Harris, and he might even be the RB1 there. We're not quite sure how it's going to shake out, but I'm happy to have Warren as my RB2. Feels a little early to get him round 6, but I wanted to secure him. And now we can just continue taking flexes. I have Anthony Richardson. I could, I'm all at JSC, my man. I think he took it over last year. It's just the question is he going to get more volume than Najee Harris? That is the big question. And if it happens, Jaylen Warren's a top 10 back. In my projections, Jaylen Warren came out to RB 13 or 14. So I think I'm getting someone that's going to be very, very important to my fantasy success this year. I don't think Najee Harris is that good. He's just been a volume runner, and he's really bad at a lot of the advanced metrics that I like to look at. So I think Jaylen Warren, man, round 6, sign me up. And hey, if he's a top 12 running back, I'm not going to be surprised, and you shouldn't be either. Christian Kirk's a great wide receiver pull. I think Chris Godwin's a good receiver pull. I love Kyle Pitts. I'm okay on Swift. Harris grabbing Terry McLaurin here, man. That's such a great value. Eckler, Nick Chubb. And as much as I poo-poo Najee Harris, I still think he's an okay pick as an RB2 if you want to just get a guy, but I'm swinging for the fences with Jaylen Warren. I'm glad you asked, JSC, because before the training camp began, I would have said it's going to be Zach Moss as the lead back, Chase Brown mixed in on third downs and some 2-minute drill situations. But they've been giving Chase Brown the opportunity to run with the ones ahead of Zach Moss. So there might, like, I've been kind of comparing the Bengals backfield. Moss is Najee, Chase Brown might be Warren. And I've been targeting the hell out of Chase Brown a lot. And actually, in my best ball drafts, he's going in the top 100 picks now. He's very, very slippery. He's one of the highest risers in fantasy football at the moment. But we're up to pick here. Look at these receivers, man. I get so many good receivers here, whether it's Keenan Allen, Jaden Reed, Deontay Johnson, Rashee Rice. Like, I hit the jackpot here. I'm going to go with the guy that's attached to Pat Mahomes. I'm going to take Rashee Rice. And if he's suspended, fine. I'll figure it out. I can draft more receivers. I think round 7, if I'm getting a wide receiver 2 out of Rashee Rice, I'm going to be pretty happy with that investment. And, I might get some of these fun receivers to fall back to me at pick 89 and just really secure that spot. And if there is a suspension, like, cool, I have it covered. But I do see Zach Moss coming up on the board here at pick 86. I will see. Where is Mr. Chase Brown? Chase Brown down here at 111. I'm going to try and get him. We'll see if Aiden or Harris or one of the boys snipe me, but I'm going to try and get Chase Brown on the team. I did want to note Tony grabbed one of the best values at running back here. Javonte Williams looking really good in training camp. He lost a lot of weight, and it looks like he's going to be the lead back in Denver. Everyone was kind of nervous about that, but I think he's looking good. And I'm on deck here, dudes, and we're getting Jaden Reed and Deontay Johnson. I feel like I won the lottery here. For these guys to be my wide receiver 4 doesn't make sense to me. I think they're both really strong wide receiver 3s with upside this year, both top 30 type receivers. I could go either way here. I think I have to lean, I'm a targets guy. I think Deontay Johnson easily has more targets than Jaden Reed, even though Jaden Reed's probably going to be more efficient, maybe more touchdowns in that passing offense. But I will take Deontay Johnson here, who clocked out really nicely in my projections this year. I think he's a 140-plus target receiver for Bryce Young, and it sounds like he's having a good training camp, plus or minus a couple drops. But I got Deontay at wide receiver 24. I got Malik Neighbors up here at wide receiver 19. And yeah, Harris, I did some projection updates, and I did get my Malik Neighbors numbers boosted. I think Malik Neighbors is a good pick, especially in redraft formats. And then, of course, Tyreek Hill there. I have 3 potential top 24 receivers. And then I am still baking in a little bit of suspension for Rashee Rice, maybe like 2 or 3 games. So he's down here at wide receiver 38 for me, but I still feel very good about Rice's skill set for the Chiefs. And TB says he's avoiding the Steelers' backfield this year. I mean, dude, if you look at – I can pull up at look at Atlanta, man. Last year, they gave Bijan 214 carries, Tyler Algier 186 carries. If you give Jaylen Warren 186 carries at about, 5 yards per carry, that's 186 times 5. That's going to be 930 yards. And then on top of that, whatever he does as a receiver, maybe he doesn't get to 186, maybe he's in the 170s, but you're talking 800 yards as a rusher, and then easily, 300 some as a receiver, because they threw 86 times to Bijan. They threw 23 times to Algier. I think Jaylen Warren's a smash. I have him at 170 rushing attempts and 80 targets this year. So I was thinking about that, JSC. I think he can, but I don't think he needs to, because their defense is so elite, and they have a pretty good running back in Isaiah Pacheco. They could simply run up the score early enough, and he's up to 300 yards every game by the 4th quarter, and they can run it out kind of thing. But I think there's definitely a shot he can be, especially with 17 game season right now. But for him to have to hit, let me just do the quick math real quick on that. For him to play all 17 games and hit 5K. That's 294 yards per game, which maybe he does that. I think I'll pull up my numbers here in a second. I'm on the clock. Chase Brown goes 1 pick before me. But hey, they're going to give me Ladd McConkey, who I just got done doing my Charger video. I'm going to upload that shortly here. Ladd McConkey, man, one of my favorite rookie receivers come away with. I think he's the clear lead to lead the team in targets for the Chargers. And yeah, they're not going to throw the ball a lot, but Ladd McConkey gets open easily a lot better than all the other players that the Chargers have. I'm kind of low on Mahomes, actually. I only got him at 4,600 yards, but I should maybe tweak that a little bit. We did see Mahomes go for 5K back in 2022. He almost hit it in 2021. Another really good year in 2020. I don't know if they need to have that happen anymore. But I'm willing to, again, I kind of baked in a little suspension for Rice. If Xavier Worthy's looking good and making big plays, I think I can maybe boost the Mahomes numbers a little bit. I mean, if there's any receiver to do it, not named Tyreek Hill, it's going to be CeeDee Lamb. He was really close to doing it last year. And honestly, the first month of football, man, we didn't see CeeDee Lamb play at the level that he did the rest of the year. So as good as his year was last year, man, I think there's more meat on the bone for CeeDee Lamb. I think he can hit it. I don't think he does. But if there's one player to do it this season, it would be CeeDee Lamb. I'll answer this question in a second, JSC, after I make my pick. I have some interesting guys here. Man, I was going to take Jaden Daniels as my QB2 just for some funsies, but we'll make this work. I could look at, backup running backs. I only have 2. I probably need to start pummeling some RBs. I could take Brock Bowers. I could take Curtis Samuel. But I really want to get some darts in my backfield. I'll take a chance here on Blake Corum, who I know is a good running back. I know he can pass protect. I know he can do everything that they asked him to do at Michigan. If Kieran gets hurt, Corum, like, where do we draft Blake Corum? Is he a 4th, 5th round pick? Say Kieran gets hurt for the whole year right now. I think we're moving Blake Corum up all the way. So I'm kind of adding Blake Corum to my bench and just saying at some point, if Kieran Williams misses time, I have an RB2 with some upside here. I know he's good. And the Rams like to use a bell cow back when they can. So we'll grab Corum there. What are your thoughts on Marvin Harrison versus Olave? I think Olave is going to offer a really safe floor this year. Marvin Harrison he's so good though. He's the biggest issue with Marvin is he's got to compete with Trey McBride, who I think is still going to have a boatload of targets. I think both guys are in the 130s, 140s for targets. Kyler Murray can dish it out and pass a lot of volume. But I think for Chris Olave, man, like he's the bell cow receiver. He's the guy that can get 150 targets. I don't think Marvin Harrison can get there. And I do have Chris Olave up higher than Marvin Harrison in my projections. But if you want Marvin, you do have to take him over Olave. So for me, if you're going to draft Marvin, you can pull him round 2, but I think he looks better as your wide receiver 2. So he's more for like 2 wide receiver starts for me. Yeah, I think that's locked in. Comeback player of the year locked in there. Unless J.K. Dobbins can do some crazy stuff. And dude, I don't trust Arthur Smith. I trust him to be annoying, but the one thing I trust Arthur Smith to do is to give running backs a ton of volume, even though they might be spread out. He's going to feed running backs touches, and then he's going to do some crazy stuff with the tight ends. Like, that's what I trust with Arthur Smith. And even, dude, if Najee gets hurt, like, we're looking at a potential league winner Jaylen Warren season, which excites me. So we're moving here into the 11th round. I have only 3 running backs on my roster. I like my receiver depth here. I probably need to start adding some sleepers at the running back position. I could be looking at guys like, Kendra Miller. I've talked him up a lot. He needs to get on the field and stay healthy. I think Gibson's interesting. I got some more guys down here. I want Rico Dowdle on my team. And that's probably what I'm going to pull. But Jake Ferguson is falling way too far, guys. If you need a tight end, look no further there. But I think Rico Dowdle is a guy that played well in a limited duty. He didn't play quite as well as Tony Pollard did in that one year where he split with Zeke. But I mean, they're going into the season with Rico Dowdle and Ezekiel Elliott as their top backs. I think Rico could just end up being better than Zeke at this point. So we'll take a shot there. I have no Drake London. I still have major questions with how Falcons are handling QB with Kirk and Penix personally. I think that would be a mistake, man. I mean, they paid Kirk. They paid Kirk $100 million to be there, man. Like, he is the quarterback this year. And if Penix does come in, like, Penix still has a really good arm, and he's going to toss the ball. I think Drake London is one of those receivers that could be top 5 this year. We've seen Kirk Cousins pummel Justin Jefferson with targets. But I do agree. I would rather have Kyle Pitts at cost than Drake London at cost. Bijan, for me, I'd rather have Bijan. I'd rather have Pitts and then probably London. But hey, I'm up to pick here. I'm going to grab somebody real quick. I got 5 seconds to do the job. I don't feel great about any of this here. So boom, we'll just grab backup tight end Dallas Goedert. I don't know why. Just wanted a backup tight end here. I think Goddard's a pretty good player. But I do think Drake London, like you shouldn't not be like Drake London in a best ball league right now goes like pick 10, 11, 12, 13. In redraft leagues, I think Harris got him at pick 24. Like to me, that's a pretty dang good value. And I know redraft doesn't equal best ball. I have Drake London here at wide receiver 11 in my projections. And that's honestly, I'm kind of being modest here. I only gave him 125 targets. I could boost these numbers more. I could easily see Drake London going over 125 targets. He had 110 last year, 117 the year before. I feel like I'm kind of sandbagging these numbers just because I have Kyle Pitts so high. I have Bijan at 90. I think Drake London, man, I think you're going to want some Drake London this year. But I have 2 more bench spots to fill here. I only have 4 RBs. I got ETN, Warren, Corum, and Dowdle. I probably would like 1 more here. I feel good about my wideouts with Tyreek, Neighbors, and Rice, with Deontay and McConkey on the bench. See, we got a couple nice rookie sleepers here with McConkey and Corum. We got some promising year, and Neighbors too. We got some promising year 2 guys here with Rashee Rice, with who else did we have here? Sam Laporta. I think we're looking pretty good here. And Charlene is loony for Mooney. I don't know if Mooney's going to be a good redraft pick. He might be a guy that's fine on the end of your bench. Don't know if we're ever going to trust him, but I do take Mooney in best ball drafts where you can just tack him on as your wide receiver 5 or 6 there, Charlene. And hey, good to see you again, Charlene. It's been a while. Yeah, I think Breece, man. I think Breece is. I think he's the most talented back in the NFL right now. I think Bijan is the guy that's built the best for a large workload. And honestly, like if you want a running back round 1, I don't like Christian McCaffrey with the first pick. I think if I have the first pick, I'd rather take my shot on the 2,000-yard CeeDee Lamb season than a 29 or whatever he is. He's on the cover of Madden, guys. Not saying anything, but I don't think we're going to see a. When's the last time a running back has repeated as the RB1? I think that's kind of tough. So for me, I love Breece Hall and I love Bijan. And if you want, like, you can grab one of those guys and then you can come back and grab Devontae Adams or Drake London. And maybe that's one of your top 5 receiver upsides. But we are on the clock here. I got 2 bench spots left. I like Romeo Doubs. I could take a shot here on Marvin Mims, who I think could be the wide receiver 1 in that offense. It's not a great passing offense, but it is what it is, Did Dobbins go? Someone drafted him. I'm going to get auto-picked here. I'll grab Jalen Wright, just another rookie. Devon Achane or Mostert get hurt. I got something there. And, yeah, it was definitely early 2000. That's when I first started playing fantasy football. I had some Priest Holmes teams. I had some Larry Johnson teams. A lot of fun. Dude, it was a different game back then, just with the running backs. Just a totally different game, man. Running backs would be the first 10 picks of the draft. But I'm feeling good about this one. We got 5 wideouts, 5 running backs. I could, if I want, I could grab my backup quarterback, whether it's Trevor Lawrence. I think he's the guy that excites me the most because he's going to run the ball the most of what's left. Maybe Deshaun Watson is interesting. But if I wanted to grab a backup QB to, if you're nervous about Anthony Richardson, know that when he plays, he's a top 5 QB, guys. If he gets hurt, these are my waiver wire options. I think I can make this work. If the rest of my draft hit and I go from Anthony Richardson to Trevor Lawrence, man, like who was still QB 12 last year and played decent down the stretch. He had some really big games here in the middle of like October, November. I think you can make it work with Anthony Richardson missing some games. But we're going to finish with a wide receiver pool here. This is a guy that I am super excited about and we need to probably talk a little bit more about. And it's Josh Downs, man. I think there's a chance Josh Downs could lead the team in receptions and targets for the Colts this year. He was having a great rookie season before he got hurt with an ankle injury. If we look back at the numbers here, it took him a couple games to get in, but 13, 5, 15, 13, 23, 14. And then he kind of got hurt in here and he just wasn't quite the same with Gardner Minshew here. But Josh Downs is making a ton of plays right now for the Colts in training camp. And it sounds like Anthony Richardson has a really good chemistry with him. And, if anything happens to Michael Pittman Jr., that's fine too. But I don't think Michael Pittman's just like the clear and away number 1 target for Anthony Richardson. I think Josh Downs there's going to be games where Josh Downs leads the team in targets. So keep an eye on him. Otherwise, I did like Marvin Mims there. You could take a guy like Dontavian Wicks or Romeo Dobbs and see what happens. But we're going to grab a defense next year, and we'll just kind of coast from here on out. Rounds 15 and 16 are defense and kicker rounds. I still, now that it's July 31st, I need to start looking at the schedule and figuring out, who are my top 5 defenses that I want to draft, because, you could push those guys up your boards. If you want a good defense, and I play in a league with defense, and I don't wait for the last round to grab my defense, because we draft 1 or 2 defenses, because it's a standard league, and defenses win championships in that league, so you want a top 5 unit. I don't think it's close. I think Anthony Richardson's ability as a rusher is just insane, man. We're talking Jalen Hurts, 15 touchdowns, 16 touchdowns with Anthony Richardson. Kyler Murray, he doesn't run enough touchdowns in. He's going to pass the ball way better. And don't get me wrong, Kyler Murray is an excellent running quarterback. I don't think he's in the same tier as Hurts, Lamar, Josh Allen at this point. His most rushing touchdowns was back in 2020 with 11, which, yeah, you could catch lightning in a bottle and catch that season. But otherwise, you're probably looking at 4, 5, 6 rushing touchdowns. And I don't know if we're ever going to see 800 rushing touchdowns again from the guy. Fine, I'll take the Dolphins D. Don't really have a preference. We'll just grab Dolphins D. I don't think there's any way. I'm going to say no. There's absolutely zero way Rodgers is a top 10 running back, because we talked about Breece, man. If Breece Hall was running for 1,400 yards, and the way Rodgers plays is he runs that play clock all the way down to 2, 3, 4 seconds every time. I don't think there's any way that there's enough plays for him. He would have to be insanely efficient and probably throw for 35 touchdowns in that offense. And again, with Breece Hall running the ball and doing a lot of things that he does, I don't see it there for Rodgers. I think he's going to offer 0 as a rusher, which is already a big ding. I think you're going to be lucky if he finishes as a top 12 QB. No way for top 10. For me, he's just a super flex option. He's probably a guy that's best on your waiver wire. I would love 800 touchdowns. What did I say? Did I misspeak? 800 yards or 800 touchdowns? What did I say? Kicker here. Kicker. I don't know. I'll go with Cameron Dicker, the kicker here. Chargers are going to move the ball a lot. They're probably going to fail in the red zone a lot and kick a lot of field goals. So we'll go with that. We'll review Aiden's team here in a second. I'll start reviewing my team. My draft is over. We'll start with my team, and then we'll look at everybody else's draft that hung out with us. I went with the top 5 player at each position method. So Tyreek Hill is my top 5 wideout, round 1. Travis Etienne, even if he's not top 5, he could still be top 7 or something like that and play off pretty well. He was round 2. I got Sam Laporta, who I think everyone agrees is probably a top 3, top 4 tight end this year at minimum. And then Malik Neighbors. I know we haven't talked about a lot of Malik Neighbors, but I don't think the quarterback matters there, guys. Malik Neighbors gets open. I know Daniel Jones isn't accurate, but he's in the 62%. And I think throwing to Malik Neighbors, you're going to be throwing in a lot of wide open Malik Neighbors. So maybe we see Drew Lock, but I like Neighbors. I like him more as a wide receiver 3, but we get him as our 2, and I'm fine with that. Anthony Richardson is our top 5 option at QB. Jalen Warren is my dark horse sleeper of the year to be a top 12 running back in fantasy sports this year, or fantasy football. And then Rashee Rice, man, we get a discount on a player here who might not be suspended. And even if he is suspended for 3-4 games, I got a boss when he comes back. Deontay Johnson can start for him in the interim. Ladd McConkey could start for him in the interim. So I like my top 5 receivers. I think that's pretty strong. Corum, Dowdle, they'll compete for, RB3, 4 duties. Dallas Goedert, I don't know why I grabbed a backup tight end. Probably didn't need to, but I'm always impartial to Dallas Goedert. Jalen Wright, just an RB dart later. If one of the top 2 guys gets hurt, we're on to something. And then Downs, again, one of my sleeper wide receivers for the year. Dolphins and Cameron Dicker. And Aiden's calling it. So let's feed the beast here and see what he thinks. He's got CJ Stroud at QB, who I agree is one of those top 5 guys that you can get and finish. He finishes top 5. Like Stroud could throw 36 touchdowns this year and 4,500 yards and just be the dude. He needs to run more, I think, if you want like maximum upside. So I think he's more like QB 4, 5, 6 range than he would be like QB 1, 2, or 3. Still a good pick. Jahmyr Gibbs is his top 5 running back, and I love James Conner, so that's a strong RB duo. A.J. Brown, Jalen Waddle, that's a sick 1-2 punch. Dalton Schultz at tight end, so he stacks C.J. Stroud with Dalton Schultz. I think the competition, like Dalton Schultz was what, tight end 10 or 11, 12 last year. I think just adding Diggs and a healthy Dell and Nico, that's going to hurt Schultz's value a little bit. So that might, hey, when I play you in the ship, Aiden, and it's Sam Laporta versus Dalton Schultz, I think I got you there. But either way, I think that's the one spot that looks like the weakness here is Schultz. I would have maybe liked, I'll trade you Dallas Goedert. How about that? But I think tight end needs to be improved here if this team's going to ship it. I love Brandon Ayuk, though, at wide receiver 3. Tony Pollard, is that Marquise Brown or is that – yeah, that's Marquise Brown. Tyler Lockett, Jacoby Myers. That's a great bench depth receiver group here. You got Chuba Hubbard to start the year. Brock Purdy, QB2. That's great. And then Josh Peterson. What is Josh Peterson here? You're going to have to explain this one to me, buddy. But I definitely think this is a fun team, and I'm nitpicking tight end, right? Like, sure, Schultz could have 8 touchdowns this year and be top of 7 at the position and be a beast. I think this team's really well built and sturdy. I would just like to have seen a better tight end. That's my only issue. But it looks like a team that could go to the ship, Aiden. And then let's see. There's always some legacy games in there. Harris got the big winner value on Josh Allen as his QB1 at the end of round 4. Rachaad White and Najee Harris. We kind of talked about Najee Harris. I don't think Najee Harris is going to be an elite pick. He's more of a guy that's just going to get his volume and just be kind of there for 8 to 10 points per game. Jamar Chase is his top 5 receiver. I personally love Drake London as a wide receiver too. I think he's a positional value smash there. Trey McBride as your tight end 1. I think McBride could easily be the tight end 1 on the year. And then McLaurin, wide receiver 3, feels pretty good. On the bench, he's got Jaden Reed, Tajay, Brian Thomas, some good second-year players and some rookies here. Marshawn Lloyd. He keeps clicking on Brandon Cooks, who I think Cooks is a good pick for where he's being drafted right now. You might be starting Brandon Cooks at some point this year. And then an upside shot on Leggett and Jahan Dotson. So some interesting wide receiver darts here. I think this is a strong team. I think you're probably going to be starting Tajay Spears over Najee Harris at some point here. I think that's really my only issue is Najee Harris RB2. He looks better as RB3, but Harris, well done. That's a pretty sound looking draft. And then we'll finish up with Tony here. Tony collects Jalen Hurts as his QB1. Can't go wrong. Breece Hall, love him. And then Javonte, that's a great RB duo. Breece and Javonte. I actually have Javonte as like my RB16. So I'm all in there. Marvin Harrison, who I don't think is a top 5 receiver his rookie year. I think he's more top 10, top 12. And you come back with Michael Pittman, 2 guys that are going to be volume players. So I like both those guys a lot. And then you got your top 5 option at tight end with Mark Andrews, Chris Godwin, who's a sleeper for me. I think he's wide receiver 24, 25. This is I think of the teams we reviewed, this is my favorite lineup. It is lacking a top 5 receiver, but you got Marvin Harrison Jr. and he could be that. We're guessing here, but I think this is a really well-rounded team. JSN on the bench is beautiful. Jerome Ford. I love Curtis Samuel, Ty Chandler. I think we got to keep buying Kendre Miller, man. Once he gets back on the practice field and stays healthy, hopefully he's going to move back up boards. And then some late round darts here, Elijah Mitchell, Kamani Vidal. So I like what Tony did there. Pretty solid draft, guys. I think we're all in the final 4. Let's just say that. But Charlene loves Hubbard, Curtis, Shaheed, and Jerome Ford. So I only like Chuba Hubbard. Like if you go, say you get your 1 RB, it's a hero RB build where you have Breece Hall or Bijan, and you don't draft another running back, till later. I do think Chuba Hubbard can be your starting running back week 1. We don't know if Jonathan Brooks is going to be active, and we're probably not going to see Jonathan Brooks get a ton of volume week 1. So there could be a chance where Chuba Hubbard starts the year and has some value at the beginning of the season, but I think long-term he doesn't have a lot of value. But Samuel, sign me up. Shaheed and Jerome Ford, I'm all in. And Harris does say, if anyone needs a league, I have 1 spot open. If you guys are interested in signing up for Harris's league, you guys can email me at thefellowkgb@gmail.com. I can send you Harris's way. But otherwise, we are running we're going to be doing our first ever fellowship money league. If you guys are interested in playing in roughly a $25 league. It's a redraft league. We're going to do a 12-team redraft league, full PPR on ESPN. We have to vote on the final rules yet. I'm open to doing a super flex. I'm open to having a defense in there, but we are filling spots fast. I think we're either 6 or 7 spots filled up already. If you are interested in playing in a fellowship money league for $25 this year, email me at thefellowkgb@gmail.com and I can send the invite your way. But that's it for tonight, guys. We did 2 mock drafts this week. I think we did pretty good both mock drafts this week. And my schedule going forward is I have to finish up 4 NFC West videos this week and weekend. And then I think we're going to start getting into the good stuff. We're going to start opening up some data, doing some 2023 reviews, doing some projection videos, doing some more draft strategy type things. But for sure, check out thefantasyfellowship.com. I will be starting a big website update tomorrow. So rankings for Dynasty and Redraft will be updated. Projections will be updated. The entire membership kit will be updated starting tomorrow. So check that out. It's only $10 a month. Hit me up if you guys need a discount to get a couple bucks off. Just hit me up. I can give you the code, and we'll figure it out. But again, thank you guys for hanging out with me on a random Wednesday night. We'll see you in a future video. Peace.